Maria, will you come up to our digital space?
I'd be honored to.
I would
Awesome.
be your little subject and I could get a piercing?
Yeah.
Okay,
Right?
fantastic.
And how many piercings will you have now? What number are we at?
I have 8. When I was 6 years old, Steven Spielberg, not to be a name dropper, I swear I'm not being a name dropper, he said I had to wait until I was 10 years old to get my ears pierced, and if I did, that he would get them pierced with me. And I didn't really have that kind of certainly, my dad wasn't around, so I really looked at him like a father, and I was excited, but I was also so happy to have a man set a boundary with me. Not that I understood it that way at the time, but I agreed. And so I waited, and I did. I got my ears pierced when I was 10, on my 10th birthday. I was so excited. I mean, when I would walk into his office wearing lipstick, he'd be like, please take that off. And I was always like, okay. But that's how parents are supposed to, function. They're supposed to make you feel like you need to be age appropriate. And my mom and I just didn't live like that. We lived like friends, not parents. So my daughters, they have asked me to get their ears pierced since as long as they could speak. But I said, you know what, I'm gonna follow Steven Spielberg's advice, and you're gonna have to wait till you're 10. If it's okay with you, if I may, I would love to bring them to you.
I would love that. It would be great.
Such a full circle moment for me, because the first parenting I ever had, was him saying no, you have to wait. If I could wait, anybody can wait. My mom and I were struggling a lot for money, and there was a bunch of endorsement deals that came our way after ET, and he said, don't take them, because you'll just be you'll water yourself down, and you'll sort of sell out too quickly, and you could be more of a flash in the pan. And if you really would like to have a long career and you would like to keep going, you have to be very careful about your choices, and you have to be thoughtful. And it was such good advice, and I totally got it when I was 7, and I said, okay, then let's not do anything, let's wait. And my mom listened to him too, and we just kept doing movies and making our living that way. Because there was so many commercials that came our way after ET. Yeah. All these brands and companies, and my mom and I were really struggling. So it was very tempting, but we just thought, do what Steven does. He knows what he's talking about, and I knew he had my best interest, which wasn't what I felt about everybody. I trusted him more than anybody else. And honestly, not until I was in my late 20s did I sign on to be a cover girl. It was really the first major endorsement deal. I literally my whole life was no to everything because of his advice, and he was right.
Is there any other life advice that you've gotten that really sticks out like that?
When I did my Playboy, he had his whole art department cover me up in the magazine, and he sent me a large quilt that said "cover up," and he turned me into this 1950s more wholesome woman. But he never made me feel bad. He always had a sweetness and a humor about it. There was always love with everything he did, but he wanted me to be a good girl, Ironically, E.T. said, be good. And then I wasn't a good girl for a long time, And then I had daughters, and I felt like I learned so much about what was important or appropriate. And it shocks me now that I would ever be someone who would do Playboy or dance on David Letterman's desk. I don't even feel attached to that person. It feels like a memory. But I'm so glad that I did all those things, because I think it's what made me seek out being appropriate and safe. It's I lived life in reverse, maybe, too. I think I had a midlife crisis at 13. But it's fun raising girls now, knowing all that I do. Because I'm oh, I've learned a lot of things. And it is so fun
Was there something that surprised you when you became a parent that you weren't expecting?
I was surprised that you could still not be ashamed of your past and embrace it and not pretend to be someone else or think that you shouldn't have done those things, that they could be a part of what builds you as a character and a human, and that you don't have to have regret or shame or denial, that you can take all of that as like tools in your arsenal to carry with you into your present and future. And that really surprised me, because I thought, God, what if my kids find out, things about my past? And I just thought, I can't wait to share my whole journey with them. And I'm glad they have me, who is so convicted about them being kids and stable and appropriate and all these things that weren't exactly my journey. And I don't parent them the way I parent myself, because I think I did have shame in how I parented myself. How could I let myself, become so wild, or fall into drugs, or lose my career at 13, or get locked up in an institution, have relationships too young. I mean, there were so many things that brought on so much shame. I felt like I had to apologize to everyone, but then I also felt really liberated. I was like, well, guess what? I'm not perfect. Good. I don't have to pretend to be. I'm still rebellious. I'm getting my ears pierced right now, My kids know that I swear, and I'm not perfect, and I'm not trying to pretend to be some laced up person and deny my past, and I sinned and you will have a different life. I'm like, no, I really learned a lot of things. Here's what I learned. You're going to figure out what works for you, but this is how I'm going to parent you, because I can see a lack of parenting isn't ideal. But it's been a lot of learning. I really didn't want to screw up as a parent, but you do. You make mistakes, and there are such learning curves. I think shame is something that we can collect in our lives, but how we deal with it is kind of the art of life.
And I'm wondering, you were talking about
why I got so deep and dark and weird.
No, I love it. Do you have one specific thing that you look at this point and say, that could be my legacy, or this could be the takeaway from everything I've done?
I mean, work-wise, I would say that Ever After taught me the most, because we as girls are told that Cinderella, who is kind, which is a very, very important trait for us to embody, but it also taught us to wait to be rescued. And that movie and that story taught me that I could rescue myself, that one should rescue themselves and then still get love and the prince if you want and all that good stuff, but don't wait to be rescued. Rescue yourself first, and then you can go find anything and do everything and anything. That was very liberating for me as a young woman. Definitely freed me up from old cliches that might have held me back in my life. I know that people want to feel safe. Whether you're a kid or you're an adult, you want to feel safe. Now my kids are first. Can I keep them safe? Can I make them feel safe? And then how can I do that with each and every person that I encounter? I was just put on this planet to raise two girls. Talk about second chances. I could have been such a disaster in my own life, but I got to thrive and survive into the luxury and fortune and privilege of being a parent to two girls. Everything must have happened for a reason then. Everything made sense. This was all hunting and gathering information for them. Okay, cool. And all they're gonna say when I get home is,
Gimme! I want!
Mom!
What you think?
Oh my, I just couldn't love it more.